Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Monday. Welcome to Monday Minutes. Very busy week of Fed speak last week. This week, front and center, obviously, we have the employment number as we approach the 4th of July holiday weekend. What a week of Fed speak in general. We have the regional Fed presidents clearly expressing their opinions. Bullard, Bostic, Kaplan, very respectful toward all of the Fed dialogue at this point in terms of tapering, rate hikes, what that timeline looks like. We do think short term, a big part of the theme is the separation of tapering from actual rate hikes. When you look at the evolution of the yield curve, you look at short end to long end, you look at the projections of short end rates out, the notion of the pathway of the Fed funds rate is very, very powerful for financial conditions in general. So we're not suggesting that the asset purchase program hasn't had a very, very real impact on markets in general. It has. But we know they're going to taper. The Fed knows they're going to taper, and the Fed knows that they have to taper. So beyond that, what do you look toward? You look toward the pathway of the funds rate over time, even though the dot plot is saying that the funds rate could go up 50 basis points, call it in 2023. What does that pathway look like going forward? How high will rates go? Where will we peak? In this week's weekly on LinkedIn, we take a look at the forward curves. We look at the forward OIS curve, where that projected 5-year forward, 5-year Fed funds rate is right now, in and around, call it 175. You look at the 10-year, in and around 150. So the expectations for the market, even when you look at inflation expectations on a forward basis, we do have this notion that things right now are on an upward trajectory in terms of growth and, headline inflation, but that things will ultimately come down. Now, how sharply do they come down? And I think that is part of the debate in terms of the Fed. Certain Fed members thinking, inflation may come down in 2022, but maybe we run at 2.5% versus where their projection is at 2.1%. On the employment side this week, still bottlenecks. Clearly on the employment side, we've seen a paring back of many of these states now in terms of unemployment insurance, the extra unemployment insurance. More states are following. It's not the sole story, but it is certainly a story. And then the psychology around that, right? We just don't know. Even if you peel back these extra unemployment benefits, we don't know that people are necessarily going to go out there and look for jobs. So on the wage side, we've talked a lot about wage inflation here going forward, the tightening of the labor market. The Fed themselves have acknowledged the fact that despite a close to 6% unemployment rate, we've got a tight labor market right now. We've got tight wages. And when you look back to the changes in the Fed's framework, you go back to early 2020, low unemployment rate, inflation, the Fed was very frustrated. The Phillips curve, right? The dynamics now are completely opposite. We've got a dynamic now where inflation now is above the Fed's comfort zone at the same time that we've got an employment market that in terms of the numbers, how the Fed is going to look at it in terms of broad-based inclusive and shortfalls, labor force participation, employment to population ratios, all of these metrics here, we've got the complete opposite dynamic. So the Fed certainly has their work cut out on a short-term basis. We do think they will be patient, but we do think this dialogue in terms of tapering into the summer months, July, Jackson Hole, September, needs to continue to move forward. Wishing everyone a great week. I'm Greg Faranello, head of U.S. rates for AmeriVet Securities.